They really don't get much better than this.
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 greatest Golden Age Broadway musicals. For this list, we'll be looking at some of the greatest Broadway musicals that premiered during the Golden Age of Broadway, which is typically defined as the years between 1940 and 1970. Number 10. Kiss Me Kate. The idea for Kiss Me Kate came about when then-future Broadway producer Arnold St. Cyber witnessed the backstage fighting between acting couple Alfred Lunt and Lynn Fontanne.
I'm yours,
Cole Porter was brought on to write the music, and the result was Kiss Me Kate, a brilliant story about a problematic musical production of Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew. It was an instant success, running for 1,077 performances and winning a Tony Award for Best Musical.
Mr. Atom, for his matum is not, 'cause it's too darn hot. It's too darn hot. It's too darn hot.
The original cast recording is now in the Library of Congress's National Recording Registry, signifying its impact and influence on both Broadway and pop culture. Number 9. Gypsy. Gypsy is often considered to be an essential Broadway musical, and for good reason. The story is loosely based on the memoir of Gypsy Rose Lee, a burlesque entertainer and striptease artist that found incredible fame in the 1930s.
Let me entertain you, and we'll have a real good time, yes sir.
It follows young Gypsy, renamed Louise, her sister, and her mother Rose, a signature showbiz mom. The character of Rose is one of the most popular in Broadway history, and her 11 o'clock number Rose's Turn is often regarded as one of the finest show tunes of all time.
Will someone tell me, when is it my turn? Don't I get a dream for myself? Starting now, it's gonna be my turn. Gangway world, get off of my runway.
Various critics have since called the production a crowning achievement of Broadway, and one critic in particular, Frank Rich, has called it, quote, Broadway's own brassy, unlikely answer to King Lear. Now that's some high praise. Number 8. A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum is proof that some comedy never gets old.
Happy that you love me, for there's one thing loveliness can do.
It's largely inspired by the works of Plautus, an ancient Roman playwright who lived between 254 and 184 BCE. As such, it features timeless pieces of comedy, including silly cases of mistaken identity and farcical slapstick like door slamming. It was a huge success in its day, although the music and lyrics by Broadway legend Stephen Sondheim were not well received, and it was one of the only aspects of the production to not earn a Tony nomination.
Everybody ought to have a serving girl, a loyal and unswerving girl, who's quieter than a mouse.
Then again, this was his first time writing music and lyrics for a Broadway play, so we can forgive that. Everyone has to start somewhere. Number 7. Guys and Dolls.
Not for good old reliable Dayton, for it's always just a short walk.
Guys and Dolls is based on the works of Damon Runyon, a short story writer who became famous for his tales of gamblers, hustlers, and gangsters. The musical opened at the 46th Street Theater in November of 1950 and eventually ran for 1,200 performances. It also won 5 Tony Awards, including the coveted Best Musical. In short, it was a massive success, and it proved that there was a place on Broadway for more daring stories about unconventional heroes. It was so acclaimed that it was chosen to be the recipient of the 1951 Pulitzer Prize for Drama, but this win was later vetoed due to writer A. Burroughs' conflict with the House Un-American Activities Committee, a committee designed to investigate private citizens suspected of having communist ties.
Let's be a lady tonight.
Number 6. Hair.
A hive for the buzzing bees, an S for birds. There ain't no words for the beauty, the splendor, the wonder of my hair.
Hair originally premiered off-Broadway in 1967 at the height of the sexual revolution and counterculture movement. It told a timely story involving a small group of bohemian hippies against the Vietnam War, conscription, and conservative America. But despite its rudimentary narrative, the musical broke a ton of new ground for Broadway. Its rock score helped to give rise to the rock musical, it invited the audience on stage for the finale, and it featured a racially integrated cast. It also featured many controversial topics, themes, and content matter, including profanity, illegal drug use, open sexuality, and a graphic scene. It's one of the most famous and infamous Broadway musicals of all time. It's also one of the best. Number 5. West Side Story. When it comes to Broadway musicals, it doesn't get much more famous than West Side Story. This musical was originally conceived by Jerome Robbins, who wanted to update Romeo and Juliet for modern audiences.
Maria, I've just met a girl named Maria, and suddenly that name will never be the same to me.
His original proposal concerned the religious conflicts between hostile Irish Catholic and Jewish families in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. This eventually transformed into Puerto Rican and Caucasian gangs in the Upper West Side, hence the title. Like Hair, West Side Story broke new ground, earning praise for both its mature themes surrounding racial and societal issues and its complex and protracted dance sequences. Even though it lost the Best Musical Tony to The Music Man, it's undeniably one of the all-time greats.
Hold my hand and I'll take you there somehow, someday, somewhere.
Number 4. Hello, Dolly.
Put on your Sunday clothes, there's lots of world out there. Get out the brilliantine and dime cigars.
The roots of Hello, Dolly can be traced all the way back to 1835 and a play called A Day Well Spent, which was adapted by Austrian playwright Johann Nestroy. Nestroy's work was then adapted by Thornton Wilder for his play The Merchant of Yonkers, which served as the basis for Hello, Dolly. Phew! Anyway, to this day, Hello, Dolly remains one of the greatest and most memorable Broadway musicals. It made a star out of Carol Channing, its album reached number 1 on the Billboard chart, and it won a record 10 Tony Awards, a record it held for nearly 40 years. It was beaten by the producers in 2001. Hello, Dolly is quite simply a masterpiece.
To be loved a whole life long.
Number 3. Oklahoma.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day.
Oklahoma was the first musical written by the iconic duo Rodgers and Hammerstein, who would go on to create such classics as The King and I and South Pacific. Oklahoma was a roaring success when it premiered in 1943, running for a record-breaking 2,212 performances, and winning a special Pulitzer Prize in 1944. This is in large part due to its innovation, as it's generally considered to be one of the first book musicals, and as such, a pioneer of Broadway's Golden Age.
Chicks and ducks and geese better scurry when I take you out in the Surrey. When I take you out in the Surrey with the fringe on top.
It's since become one of the most performed and adapted musicals in history, including an Academy Award-winning film, an Olivier Award-winning revival in 1998, and a Tony-winning revival in 2019. Number 2. The Sound of Music. The Sound of Music is another Rodgers and Hammerstein classic, coming 16 years after Oklahoma. Unfortunately, it would also be their last, as Hammerstein passed from stomach cancer only 9 months after the premiere. But what a glorious send-off it was.
My heart will be blessed sound of music.
While the movie is arguably more well-known, the original Broadway production was incredibly well-received, running for 1,443 performances and winning 5 Tony Awards, including Best Musical. Many of its characters are now icons, and its songs, including My Favorite Things, The Sound of Music, and Do Re Mi, have become Broadway classics. While it wasn't as lauded or as long-running as Oklahoma, we would argue that The Sound of Music has become far more iconic and integrated within the general pop culture consciousness.
So long, farewell, I'll be there saying goodnight. I hate to go and leave this pretty sight.
Imagine being able to go to a Broadway show in this era. If I had a time machine, I'm telling you. Here are some other legendary musicals from Broadway's Golden Age. But if I were a rich man, I'd see number 1 1,000 times.
It's gotta happen sometime. Maybe this time, I will.
This is my quest to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right. I love you.
Getting to know all about you, getting to like you, getting to hope you like me. I could have danced all night, I could have danced all night, and still have begged for more.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Fiddler on the Roof.
That I can tell you in one word. Tradition!
At the time, Fiddler on the Roof didn't seem like a Broadway blockbuster in the making. The play's investors feared that the story was, quote, too Jewish to become profitable. Based on the works of a 19th century Yiddish author, Sholem Aleichem, it tells a story set in the Pale of Settlement of Imperial Russia. Defying investor and media doubts, however, the show turned out to be a monumental success, and is often considered the first successful post-Holocaust story to be centered around Eastern European Judaism. It ran for an unbelievable and history-making 3,242 performances, earning investors $1,574 for every $1 they'd spent. It also went on to win 9 Tony Awards and continues to be fondly remembered as one of the all-time greats.
Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, sweet dream by the years.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.